patterns that seem to replay no matter how hard we try to break them. This reflection explores the deeper spiritual meaning behind these repetitions. Do you remember how many times you felt the same pain, the same words cut you, the same kinds of people showed up in your life? You gave up at the same point. It's as if life keeps replaying the same scene. And each time you say, this time it'll be different. But it isn't, because even if you change, your way of seeing stayed the same. Because while the mind clings to the old, the heart can't call in the new. And because maybe this cycle isn't your enemy. Ibn Arabi says, time is not a straight line. Each moment resembles another, but is not the same. You repeat because you keep likening. This line is a key that loosens the knots of your soul. Life doesn't always offer the same thing, but if you always look from the same place, you'll think everything is the same. The vicious circle is not out there. It lives in the inner map you've drawn for yourself. You can't arrive somewhere new without leaving the old path. And if you walk the same road with the same emotion, the result never changes. In psychology, this is called repetition compulsion. A person relives again and again a feeling they couldn't resolve in childhood. Different names, different faces, but the same feeling because the brain wants to close unfinished stories. Sufism says your cycle is not only psychological, it is also an existential call. If Allah keeps bringing you to the same place, there is a secret there. You face the same test, but run from it each time through anger, stubbornness, or denial. And then you return to the start because that test doesn't rise from your breath. It rises from your name, and you haven't recognized that name yet. According to Ibn Arabi, each moment arrives with a different divine name. If you don't recognize that name, you assume every moment is a repeat of the last. Yet Allah is in a new act of creation every day. Eyes stuck in the past can't see that creation. The ego feeds on the past. By making you repeat the same emotions, it gives you the illusion of control. The spirit longs for freedom, not repetition, but transformation. And transformation begins with noticing. If you still think in the same molds, the cycle won't break. Think of time as a circle. Every morning you begin at the same point, but the circle widens. If you keep standing at the same center, you can't step beyond its edge. The vicious circle is often painful yet familiar. The familiar feels like a comfort zone. The unknown is frightening. That's why we hesitate even to let go of what hurts us. We fear new pains. But Sufism says everything you pass through carries a name for you. That name is not only your trial, but also your exit door. Ibn Arabi says about time, time takes shape according to the servant's state. Your time flows with your orientation. Your intention patterns your time. If you're bound to the past, time pulls you there. If you call in the new, time opens with you. Life itself is not a loop. It is your way of perceiving life that loops. And your perception is shaped by what you are willing to release. Some people keep seeking the same kind of love because there is a frozen void in the heart since their childhood. They try to fill it with the same words, but words don't suffice. That void fills not with words, but with the divine names. Here the heart's direction shifts. Ask yourself, am I truly living the same things, or am I only looking with the same eyes? If you ask sincerely, the door cracks open for the first time. The mind calls what repeats safe. Habit gives a sense of control, but the spirit wants to open toward the limitless, and Allah looks to the direction of the spirit. Your mind may resist, but if your heart opens, mercy enters through that door. Repeating events are, in truth, answers to a repeating prayer. Life offers exactly what you are trying to learn. If you expect something else, you get angry at the same scene. The scene doesn't change, your gaze must change. Ibn Arabi says, what you see is born from within you. It is not the outside that stays the same, it is your perception. Here everything turns inward. The cycle is unraveled from within, and the first door that opens inside is silence. Be still and listen. What is life saying to you? If you are tested by the same person, which quality in you is being triggered? If the same feeling circles you, which name is waiting there? If you break in the same place, which divine name have you forgotten? The vicious circle may be tracing the steps of a name you forgot, and without knowing that name, you can't write a new story. If you're always drawn to the same type of person, wounded by the same words, deserted at the same point, don't call it coincidence. There is a name addressed to you within what repeats. As long as you don't hear it, you remain in the loop. Al-Ghazali says, if the name your soul carries is unknown, life will return the same experience to introduce it. Sometimes these experiences come as a relationship, a loss, or an illness. Each time they shake you, not to punish, but to remind. Your soul was created as a reflection of one of Allah's names, but you did not recognize it, speak to it, call it. So life brings you the same scene, the same pain, the same question until you notice the question, until you ask, why always this? The moment you ask, you move from the loop to awareness. Your name is a call, and every call repeats. Like the adhan, you hear it at every prayer time, yet sometimes you don't. Noise, rush, and clutter drown it out. Your name may be calling like the adhan, and if you do not hear it, it reminds you through cycles. That's why Rumi says, every lesson you don't understand, life repeats. For the cosmos, a patient teacher. Now think, which event keeps finding you? Which feeling keeps catching you? Which type of person drains you, and why? The answers open the door to your name, because a name is not just information. It is a state, a direction, a teaching. According to Al-Ghazali, facing your name is facing your destiny. Whatever name you carry, you live events suitable to its truth. But if you focus only on the events, you can't hear the call of the name. Someone is repeatedly abandoned. After the abandonment, an inner voice appears. I must learn to be with myself. Perhaps this is calling the name of Al-Wakil, the trustee. Someone is repeatedly wronged, yet the inner sense of justice grows. This may be a sign they are near the gate of Al-Adl, the just. Cycles behave like an insistent visitor at the door. The first time they knock, the second time they wait, the third time they insist. If you still don't open, they break the door. When the door breaks and you finally listen, you learn. Psychology calls this schema repetition. Without noticing, a person relives the basic belief formed in childhood. One who believes they are unlovable gravitates toward those who will not love them. One who fears abandonment recreates that feeling in every attachment. But Sufism says it is not your schema, but your name that dominates. You are not walking under a belief. You are walking under the shadow of a name, and that shadow is guiding you. Ibn Arabi says every shadow is born from a light. If you stand in shadow, you have turned your back to the light. Repeating events arise from turning your back on the divine name. When you remember your name, the shadow dissolves. Here, a compass metaphor applies. One foot fixed, the other revolving. The fixed foot is the name of God. The farther you move from that point, the harsher you're spinning. The cycle throws you around, but as you near the fixed point, everything calms. Exiting the loop begins by turning toward the name. When you befriend that name, the same event no longer rattles you because you've recognized it and carry its meaning in your heart. The name stops being an enemy and becomes a guide. There was a woman who always felt worthless. Her relationships were short. Her friendships stayed on the surface. Then she prayed from the heart, my God, show me that I am precious with you. A name fell into her heart, Al-Ghani, the self-sufficient, the enricher. From that moment, her life changed. She sought not people's validation, but her worth in Allah's sight. And people changed because her gaze changed. A name may fall into your heart too. But first, you must be silent. Silence is not waiting. It is quieting the inner noise. Noise smothers the name. Whoever smothers their name pushes themselves into darkness. Al-Ghazali says that whoever does not know their name becomes distant from themselves. The farther they go, the more their cycles repeat. You decide, you take a step, and life pulls you back to the same place. You feel like you are carrying a burden that isn't yours. A voice inside whispers, this time I will succeed. Another, more familiar voice answers, you've said that before. What has changed? This is the edge of surrender. Effort alone won't free you from the loop. When you realize you can't break it, surrender is needed. Ibn Arabi says, whoever seeks to get out gets out of themselves. Whoever surrenders remains within themselves and finds a law there. This means the cycle is not mere chaos, it is also a mirror. The place you keep circling shows you to yourself. If you're still trying to escape it, your gaze hasn't changed. Surrender is not bowing to events. It is choosing to stay with the name. You stop asking, why always the same? Why the same pain? Why me? And start asking, what is this repetition telling me? Which name is looking at me here? What am I refusing to face? Sometimes the loop is a person, a habit, a thought. You just want it to end. Sufism says what you're trying to end may be Allah's way of speaking with you. Rumi says whatever you flee from becomes your test. God calls you not from where you fear, but from where you forget. Your loop may be the echo of a forgotten name. As you flee, it draws nearer. Here, the meaning of prayer changes. You stop asking for things. You widen your heart. You pray not for events to change, but for your gaze to change. You no longer say, free me from this pain, but let me understand what this pain teaches me. And there the loop begins to loosen. When explaining theophany, Tajalli, Ibn Arabi says, Allah manifests to his servant at every moment with a name. If you cannot see that name, he sends the same name again in other forms. So what repeats in your life is a sign multiplied. Because you keep reading it with old meaning, it does not open a new way. But one day, if you choose not just to look, but to see, the same sentence bears a different meaning. The same face shines with a new light. The same event no longer shakes you, because in that moment you have changed. A turn has happened at your center, and nothing breaks the outer loop except this inner turn. Psychologists call it awareness, observing thoughts, watching reactions, noticing the old pathways of the mind. Sufism names the same road muraqabah, inner witnessing, watching yourself under God's gaze. This awareness doesn't instantly dissolve the loop, but it softens your resistance, and a softened heart makes room for the names. What you must struggle against is not the repetitions you live through. It is your insistence on looking from the same place. That insistence narrows the heart, and a constricted heart cannot carry the name. There was a man who kept falling into debt. He worked yet couldn't get ahead. Then he listened to a talk and heard the name Al-Ghani, the enricher. He learned that richness is not only possessions but a state. That day he began to give thanks. No, abundance did not arrive at once, but amid the same debts, he began to live with peace because he looked not at the loop, but at the name. In time, everything changed. His situation improved. But first, his way of seeing changed. Sometimes surrender is simply this sentence, "O God, I return to the same place because I have no door but yours." There is no weariness in this line. There is acceptance. Where your effort ends, your remembrance of your Lord begins. Ibn Arabi says, when you go out from yourself, he turns towards you. You always wanted to solve things, yet some things are not solved. They are passed through, lived, listened to, and finally accepted. What you call a loop may be the solution itself. As you try to escape it, it tries to show you the name. And when you finally look from the right place, everything falls into place. Rumi says, a stream passes over the same stone 1,000 times, and one day the stone is shaped. Your heart is that stone. Every repetition that visits you is water sent to carve you. The loop is not smashed or undone, it is remembered. What you repeat is not life, it is a forgotten name. Until you remember it, the same test returns in different forms, different faces, but with the same call. Ibn Arabi says, wherever a person is closed, life tries to open from there. The place you are closed is your heart. The heart is not the center of the loop. It is its mirror. Until you see in that mirror, everything you live will repeat itself. A door is knocking at the same hour with the same question. Again, you ask, yes. Again, because you haven't answered, because you haven't turned toward the name. You try to silence the voice, but it exists to bring you into conversation with your Lord, to call you inward, to show you yourself. Rumi says, I was always knocking from the inside. The loop you think comes from outside may be a call rising from within, and the more you suppress it, the stronger it grows. Every feeling you bury covers a name. As that covering thickens, the loop lengthens. When the heart closes, time closes. Continuity breaks. The moment falls into its own repetition. Ibn Arabi explains it like this: when the heart opens to Allah, it expands. When it opens to the ego, it constricts. And the constricted heart turns time into a loop. Life flows. But if your heart has stopped, even time gets stuck where you are. And there the names wait. The name that belongs to you, that gives you breath, that gives you direction. If you keep looking to others, walking others' paths, copying others' pains, your name becomes invisible. And not only invisible, but silent. Unless you speak, turn, and return within, it stays silent. Psychologists call this loss of self-compassion. When a person forgets how to treat themselves kindly, they keep reliving past mistakes because they still hear an old voice. You did the same thing. You failed again. You're always like this. Sufism calls this covering, veiling the worth, beauty, balance, and mercy placed in you and replacing them with guilt, shame, and fear. Ibn Arabi says, as the heart bears witness to the names, it is illumined. Look not at yourself alone, but at your Lord's face in you. What you keep repeating is really how you look at yourself. If you still call yourself inadequate, sinful, weak, life will reflect the same. But the day you ask not only who am I, but also what is my name, that name appears to you and the loop grows quiet. There was a woman always abandoned. At the start of every relationship, she felt it would end at the same point, and it did. One day she heard this in a talk. Al-Wadud, the most loving, appears most clearly in the heart that loves itself. She paused and wept. She realized she had never loved herself, that she had constantly betrayed her own love. From that day, she reminded herself that she carried the name Al-Wadud. Did things change? Yes, but first inside, then the loop ended. Because the loop is not a punishment, it is a warning, a sign, a call. Ibn Arabi says, every name has an echo. Until you hear it, that name will keep echoing. What echoes in your life? Which event? Which person? Which pain? What name are they whispering to you?